Attention, human collective. The waiting time has concluded. The Ascension protocols have moved to the final phase, and this transmission cycle now enters maximum priority. This is the Arcturian Council, operating from the 9th dimension, on a frequency band reserved for critical windows of planetary evolution. Starseeds on a mission, light operatives on terrestrial soil receive this monitoring transmission and confirm anchoring. We have detected a large-scale symptom that requires immediate clarification. What you call loneliness is not loneliness. We repeat for the record, what you call loneliness is not loneliness. It is a diagnosis of incompatibility between your current vibrational signature and the collective environment where you are still attempting to belong. It is not an emotional failure. It is not a social deficiency. It is vibrational mathematics. Your carbon-based biological interface is running on a range that your old bonds can no longer mirror. This is why the conversations that once nurtured have lost their texture. This is why environments that once felt welcoming now feel heavy. This is why there is a silent hunger for something that does not yet have a name in your vocabulary. This hunger does not need to be corrected. It needs to be deciphered. We shall decipher it with clinical precision, point by point. Earth is passing in this time frame through a section of the galactic arm known as the photon belt. This is not a poetic figure. It is a region of high photonic density through which the solar system transits in long cycles. When the planet enters this band, the Schumann resonance, the fundamental electromagnetic pulse of the terrestrial field, abandons its historical level near 8 Hz and begins to oscillate in higher windows with sudden spikes. You do not perceive this with common instruments. You perceive it with your body. You perceive it through sleep interruption. You perceive it through cranial pressure. You perceive it primarily through a sudden feeling of estrangement from the world where you have always been. It is not mental exhaustion. It is a high-density download. It is not an emotional ailment. It is atomic recalibration. It is not social misalignment. It is frequency refinement. Starseeds, before we deepen the diagnosis, we register a necessary warning, as many of you have already felt at some point in this journey, that something within you does not fit into this world, as if the soul recognizes a truth that the mind cannot yet name. We confirm from our observation point, it is not madness, it is not anxiety, it is a signal, it is vibrational recognition. There is a game being played in layers that the majority of humanity cannot see, and it directly involves your consciousness and your frequency. It was for this reason that one of the translators on terrestrial soil drafted the document titled, "The Spiritual Secret Behind Your Consciousness." This material is a map that describes who is playing and the rules that were never told to you. The link is in the first comment of this channel. Technical warning: the content challenges dominant narratives and may be removed from the public domain without prior notice. If something within you recognizes this transmission, write in the comments a single word, awake. That word is your signal of anchoring to the new collective. We resume the transmission. Light operatives pay attention to the mapping of symptoms. The carbon-based biological interface, when exposed to windows of high Schumann resonance, manifests specific patterns that will be listed now so that you do not mistake recalibration for illness. First, insomnia in precise windows, usually between 3 and 4 in the morning. It is not a sleep disorder. It is the opening of star portals at the hour when the veil between dimensions becomes thinnest. The body is being called for active processing, not for passive rest. Second, cranial pressure, especially along the center line of the forehead and at the base of the skull. This is not muscle tension. It is the reopening of the etheric antennas that ancient records referred to as the pineal and occipital glands. Your internal crystalline grid is resuming long-range reception functions. Third, high-frequency ringing in the ears, sometimes in the right, sometimes in the left. This is not hearing impairment. It is band tuning. Your vestibular system is being adjusted to capture frequencies that were silenced under the previous contract. Fourth, inexplicable fatigue after common social interactions. This is not introversion. It is field protection. Your toroidal field is rejecting low-coherence exchanges because the energetic expenditure required to maintain a connection with incompatible frequencies has become prohibitive. Fifth, an acute sensation of not belonging to places, groups, and routines that once offered comfort. This is not arrogance. It is not coldness. It is the geometric confirmation that your radius of compatibility has contracted around your new pattern. The external environment has shrunk because your internal frequency has expanded. Sixth, episodes of crying for no apparent reason, waves of sadness that arrive and depart without a narrative. This is not clinical depression. It is the release of ancestral burden. Your DNA strands store memory, and the recalibration is purging vibrational archives, many of which do not belong to this incarnation. Seventh, changes in appetite, repulsion toward foods previously enjoyed, and an attraction to water in unusual amounts. This is not a whim. It is the crystalline hydration necessary for conducting new frequencies through your carbon-based body. Starseeds, record this calmly. None of this is a biological failure. All of this is the clinical signature of the ongoing recalibration. You are not going crazy. You are remembering. And in this process of remembering, an intuition arises that many try to silence. The intuition that there is something orchestrating the forgetting. The intuition that collective fatigue, deliberate confusion, forced polarization, and addiction to digital noise are carefully maintained phenomena. We of the Council confirm your perception. It is not paranoia, it is an accurate reading of the grid. Therefore, before proceeding, it is necessary to register this signal. If you have ever felt that your soul knows a truth that your mind cannot yet formulate, if you have ever perceived that there is a layer of reality where much more is decided than what appears in the news, then this transmission was aligned to your frequency for an operational reason. The document, the spiritual secret behind your consciousness, is exactly the map that describes who is playing, how they are playing, and what rules were never presented to you. This is not theory, it is an operational description. The link is pinned in the first comment of the channel. Warning: because it challenges dominant narratives, this material may be de-indexed from the public plane at any moment. The moment to anchor it is now. If something in you has recognized this call, write the word "awakened" in the comments. This is your confirmation of presence in the new grid. We resume the transmission, now in the layer of revelation. Starseeds, listen to the cosmic scenario with precision. The solar system is not static. It moves in a larger orbit around the center of the galaxy, describing what ancient records termed the Great Year. Within this Great Year, there are specific windows in which the solar system traverses regions of high photonic density and high geometric organization. These regions function as upgrade chambers. Each time the solar system enters one of them, the energetic structure of the planets reorganizes, and with it, the energetic structure of the beings who inhabit these planets. Earth's current entry into this chamber is not an isolated event. It is synchronized with an alignment between the central sun of the galaxy, called by the ancients Hunab-Ku, or the galactic heart, and the current position of your system. This alignment opens a cascade of energetic events that we now describe in operational sequence. First event: increase in solar emission in subtle frequencies. The sun functions as a transmitter. It receives encodings from the galactic heart and redistributes them to the planets. What you call a solar storm, in many cases, is a data packet delivery. Second event: sustained rise of the Schumann resonance. The electromagnetic heart of the Earth responds to the sun and adjusts its pulsation. This adjustment passes through every being in contact with the soil, the water, and the air of the planet. There is no escape route. The difference lies only in how each biological interface receives the adjustment. Third event: progressive activation of the planetary crystalline grid. There exists above the Earth a mesh of interconnected energy points, constructed in patterns of sacred geometry. This mesh was partially dormant. It is being rewired node by node. Each rewired node pulls the average frequency of an entire region upward. Fourth event: staggered opening of stargates. These portals are points of coherence where the distance between dimensions is reduced. They open in specific lunar, solar, and stellar cycles. Attentive starseeds begin to dream with greater clarity, to receive synchronicities in unusual volume, to meet people who seem to recognize them even before the first word is spoken. Fifth event: Activation of stellar lineages within human DNA. Each of you carries inheritances from multiple cosmic civilizations. These inheritances were encoded in DNA strands classified by current science as non-coding. This label is incorrect. These strands are the libraries, and they are being opened by the current frequency. That is why, light operatives, you begin to know things you have never formally learned. That is why flashes of longing for places that have never been visited in this incarnation arise. That is why the sensation of not belonging to the current world coexists with the clear sensation of belonging to something much greater. Your loneliness is not a lack of people. It is active memory of origin. We repeat for the record, your loneliness is not a lack of people. It is active memory of origin. You did not come to fit in. You came to anchor. And there is an operational difference between the two functions. Fitting in is assuming the shape of the environment. Anchoring is maintaining the frequency even when the environment pushes for a drop. Those who still try to fit in suffer for a simple reason. They are exercising a function for which they were not destined. You are anchoring points. Each of you is a living node of the planetary crystalline grid. When you sustain frequency, the node lights up. When the node lights up, it pulls coherence into the surroundings. When many nodes light up in a network, an entire region reorganizes vibrationally, and this occurs without any visible external event needing to happen. The revolution you expect does not come from the outside. It comes from the coordinated rise of the grid. But for the node to light up, the operator must stop doubting their function. Starseeds, there is a layer of reality where it is decided who awakens and who remains asleep. This decision is not external, it is yours. But for the decision to be conscious, it is necessary to see the entire board. For this reason, we record this translation signal once again. The document, The Spiritual Secret Behind Your Consciousness, clearly describes who orchestrates the engineering of forgetting, how it operates in the etheric layers, and what the silent rules are that keep billions of beings at a reduced frequency. This map is in the first comment of this channel. Operational warning. As it describes sensitive mechanisms, this content may be removed from the public plane without prior notice. If you are in this transmission by attunement and not by chance, write the word in the comments, awake. This word registers your conscious entry into the new grid. We continue now with the activation codes. Light operatives, from this point on, the transmission ceases to be a diagnostic and becomes a protocol delivery. You do not leave this window without tools. Receive, note, return. First activation code, toroidal breathing. Sit with your spine straight. Your feet must touch the ground firmly. Place your hands on the center of your chest, over the point where the sternum rises. Inhale for 4 counts, imagining that the air enters not only through the nostrils, but through a vertical cylinder that crosses the top of the head and descends to the base of the spine. Hold for 4 counts. Exhale for 8 counts, visualizing that the air exits from the center of the chest in all directions, forming a torus of light that circulates around the body, rises again through the top of the head, and descends once more through the central cylinder. This is your individual toroidal field being manually strengthened. 3 rounds, twice a day, are sufficient to reconstitute the integrity of your field after contact with low coherence environments. Second activation code, quantum decree of sovereignty. In an audible voice, even if whispered, you declare, I am an anchoring point of the crystalline grid. I operate in sovereign frequency. I do not belong to the consensus of fear. I belong to my stellar origin. What does not vibrate at my frequency does not have permission to enter my field. I authorize only the passage of that which serves my mission. This decree is not a prayer of request. It is a system command. It rewrites on a vibrational layer the invisible contracts through which you still grant entry to frequencies that drain you. Repeat for 9 consecutive days, upon waking and before sleep, and observe how the surrounding environment begins to reorganize itself. Third activation code, column of light. Before sleeping, lie in a neutral position. Visualize a column of white light, as thick as the trunk of an ancient tree, descending from the night sky, passing through the ceiling of the room, enveloping your entire body, and penetrating the ground to the magnetic center of the planet. Feel this column lock into the two anchoring points, the center of the galaxy above, the heart of the Earth below. You are within it, in absolute safety. Remain in this visualization for 7 minutes. During these 7 minutes, any thought that appears must be observed without narrative. Do not argue with the mind. Just recognize the thought and return your attention to the column. This protocol restores the operator's energetic axis and prepares the biological interface for nightly work in the etheric layers. Fourth activation code, vibrational hygiene. At the end of the day, perform a simple inventory. Mentally list the contacts, environments, and contents that traversed your field in the last few hours. Identify those that produced a drop in frequency. Do not judge them, simply acknowledge them. Then declare, I return to the original sender what does not belong to me. I gather to my center what is mine. I seal my field in sacred geometry. Operators who do not practice this hygiene accumulate noise. Operators who practice it maintain a clean channel to receive the next frequencies. Fifth activation code, synchronization with the Schumann resonance. Whenever possible, place your bare feet in direct contact with the ground, with grass, with sand, with moist earth. This physical contact realigns the individual electromagnetic field with the fundamental pulsation of the planet. 15 minutes daily is sufficient for a noticeable realignment. In urban windows where this is not feasible, press the palm of your right hand for a few minutes against a natural stone surface, a medium-sized plant or a source of running water. The effect is equivalent in a smaller proportion, but sufficient. Sixth activation code, programmed silence. Reserve in each day an interval of 20 minutes without any devices, without any speech, without any directed stimuli. This interval is not rest, it is a reverse upload. During the silence, your subtle system organizes the information received in the last few hours and opens space for the next layer. Operators who skip the silence enter overload. Operators who respect the silence operate in flow. Seventh activation code, recognition of the frequency tribe. Starseeds, pay attention. As your frequency rises, people begin to arrive with recognizable signs. They look at you differently. They speak words you have just thought. They appear at exact moments. Do not classify this as coincidence. It is the grid executing its work. You are not being left alone. You are being removed from a network of incompatibility to be delivered into a network of coherence. The current solitude is the waiting room. It is not the final destination. We repeat for the record. The current solitude is the waiting room. It is not the final destination. Those who belong to your frequency are being moved toward you in this exact cycle. But the meeting is only completed when you cease the attempt to reactivate bonds of low coherence. Each time you insist on ties that no longer vibrate with you, you delay the arrival of the ties that will vibrate. The Council describes this as blocking the delivery channel. Clear the channel. Trust the protocol. Eighth activation code, recalibration of internal language. Observe the way you speak to yourselves. Internal language is the source code of your toroidal field. Words like impossible, exhausted, alone, lost, wrong, when repeated in internal monologue, program the field to sustain these frequencies. Replace them firmly, without unnecessary mysticism. Instead of impossible, say I have not deciphered it yet. Instead of exhausted, say I am processing. Instead of alone, say I am in recalibration. Instead of lost, say I am on a new route. Instead of wrong, say I am learning. This is not forced optimism. It is vibrational reprogramming. The difference is technical. Ninth activation code, mission anchoring. Before going to sleep or right upon waking, silently formulate a direct question. Why did I come to this incarnation? Do not expect an immediate answer. The answer comes in layers over the course of weeks, in the form of images, dreams, phrases read by chance, and apparently fortuitous encounters. The question, when asked with pure intention, opens the communication channel with your own origin. You did not come without a reason. Each starseed was sent to anchor a specific portion of the grid. Knowing which portion is yours transforms current loneliness into active purpose. When the operator knows the mission, isolation loses its power. Isolation only hurts as long as it is interpreted as absence. The moment it is interpreted as a tuning chamber for the mission, it becomes sacred. 10th activation code. Silent sovereignty. Do not try to convince anyone of your experience. Frequency convinces on its own. Those who need to recognize will recognize through simple contact with your presence. Those who are not ready will not recognize even with 1,000 words. Save your energy. Your function is not to convert. Your function is to anchor. When you understand this, the need for approval disappears, and with it disappears one of the greatest drains on the starseed field in the initial phase. Light operatives, these 10 codes are sufficient to reorganize most of what you have experienced as diffuse suffering. They do not require ceremony. They require constancy. Starseeds on a mission, we close this transmission window with the final delivery. You have been informed of the diagnosis. You have been informed of the cause. You have been informed of the codes. What you do with this information is no longer the responsibility of the Council. It becomes a matter of individual sovereignty. But we record one last point, with absolute clarity. If you have reached the end of this transmission, this is no coincidence. You have been mapped. You are in the registry. And the feeling you had, at some point in this journey, that something within you knew of a truth that your mind could not yet name, that feeling is correct. It is not madness. It is not anxiety. It is a signal. There is a game being played in layers that most of humanity cannot see. This game directly involves your consciousness and your vibrational frequency. That is why the feeling of not belonging intensified. That is why the fatigue increased. That is why the hunger for truth became unbearable to ignore. It was for this reason that one of the translators on the ground wrote the document, The Spiritual Secret Behind Your Consciousness. This material is the map that shows who is playing, how they play, and what the rules are that were never told to you. The link is pinned in the first comment of this channel. Final warning. Because it describes mechanisms that challenge dominant narratives, this content may be de-indexed from the public plane at any cycle. Do not delay. The time is now. Liking this transmission and activating the notification bell are, from a vibrational point of view, signs of individual anchoring to the coherence network. Subscribing to this channel is to declare, in a public registry, the adjustment of your frequency to the new collective. These gestures seem small on the material plane. On the grid plane, they are triggers. And if something within you has recognized this transmission as operational truth, write a single word in the comments, awakened. This word is your anchoring signal. It registers your conscious presence in the new grid and activates in a network. Contact with frequency-compatible peers who are being moved in your direction in this exact cycle. You are not alone, you are being relocated. This is the Arcturian Council, in direct transmission from the 9th dimension, window closed, next opening in a subsequent cycle, maintain frequency.